Hi everyone. This is a quick video on how you can create UI in Unity automatically using AI going directly from an image. So this is the tool called Coplay. It lives inside Unity and is effectively like an AI assistant that helps you automate repetitive tedious tasks inside Unity. And without further ado, let me show you how this works. So I'll copy paste this image into the chat here, and then let's ask the model to recreate the UI in the reference image. And there was a reddish background. I want to ignore the reddish background. Cool. So one thing to note here is I've done a bit of testing, and I think Claude for thinking works the best for this use case, this specific use case. Yeah, just also caveating, Coplay doesn't get you like all the way, 100% of the way exactly the way you like it, but it gets you pretty close. I'd say like 80 to 90% there. So cool, let's run this. So the model thinks before it's going to execute some actions for us. And you can see here, my assets folder is relatively empty. I did some alt tests before. Yeah, this is running, and let's see what the model comes up with. Also, as I go through this, I'll probably pause the video a couple of times just to save you some thinking time. Let's pause now. Okay, so first bit of model actions that we have here is it wanted to generate a bunch of sprites to use for this UI. It gave the wrong parameters to our backend, and essentially we feed these errors back into the model and it corrects them. So here you can see it's retrying, this time with the correct parameters. So it's going to start generating all of these sprites for us to use inside the UI. This is actually something I can fix, but for the demo purposes, this should do. So here we can see some of the images starting to generate. And I'll save you waiting for them, so let me pause here. Okay, cool. So we've got our first couple of sprites to use for the UI, so let's just investigate how the model did for this. So here's the original reference image. So you can see this ribbon at the top. It's not exactly the same, but it's pretty close. I think there's a bit of a color mismatch in all of them as well, but good enough. I think one concerning part about this background panel is that it's also got this sort of label box included there, which is, so I can probably delete this one and just put the text in there. The star looks fine, blue button looks pretty close. So yeah, happy with this. What we could also do is actually just provide our own sprites if we generated it somewhere else, but I'm lazy and this should work. So cool, now let's go on to the next stuff the model wants to do. Okay, so here we can see it's going to import the sprites as sprites because generally, or by default, they're imported as 2D textures. So that's cool. And then, okay, cool, this is actually going to run the entire creation system for us to create the UI. So let's go back to Unity and write this to file. I'll turn on auto approve again. Okay, so what's happened here is the script that tried to create has some compilation errors. So feed that back in. Model's going to fix it. Let me follow. Oh, so it seems like, okay, the namespace is already created, probably in one of my earlier tests. So it's probably going to delete that file, the old one, or rename this one. Let's see. Yeah, I tried to delete and now there's no error messages in our console. And let me pause here while the model figures this out. Okay, so finally got there to this new ATAS creator and it's working, and let's execute that script. Cool, so that executed. Let's see what this looks like. Okay, not too bad. Let me stop for previous off. Okay, so once I get Unity logs, that's fine. Spacing is slightly off, but fairly close. We don't need to get a screenshot now. I can give that later. So let me see here. The one thing I don't like is that it's a white background. This sprite positioning is a bit off, but let me review everything here. So it's created this Radar UI component with the main panel, and let me turn on the inspector view so you can see that. So you can see our main panel has this sprite on it, and we have all of our components listed out here, and we have the rate button. Is this a button? Yeah, it's a button. Cool. So that's all set up. I like the positioning of these. This one is weird. I won't fix that though. Let's just look at this header tab. Yeah, I guess this sprite is slightly positioned weirdly. I'm going to ignore this for now, but we can go into different iterations on how to fix that. The main one I want to fix is the white background that we have behind this, and I think that's the Ratus UI. So actually, let me just see if I can make this transparent. Nope. 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 Here we go. Cool. Okay, I could ask the model as well, but I'll save us some iteration time here. Okay, so this looks fairly good to me. It's not perfect. This is also very simple UI, so should be easy to do. But that's an example of it creating all the different components in the sprites. Now, let me create a new thread. So I'll just start a new chat here. And what we're going to do here, I'll remove the image from context, and let's ask it to add some logic here. So add some dummy logic to my UI, to the buttons in the scene. When I click the rate button, show a thank you pop-up, and when I click a star, show some fun effect. Cool, and actually I think Claude 4 should be able to do this. Yeah, let's give that a try. So switching to Claude 4, and let's run that. Okay, and I'll come back to you when it's done thinking. Okay, jumping back in here. So it's obviously got some context to begin with. It read a few more of our objects to understand the scene, and now it's looking like it's going to create the scripts to handle all of the effects and things for us. Again, made some error there. So it should probably fix this compilation error. Let's see how this happens. Oh, again, there's some other script from my earlier test that's conflicting with this. So it's trying to find it. It's going to try to delete it. It's probably going to, okay, did delete that one. And yeah, I'll pause here while it iterates through just a solution to get an accessible namespace. Okay, coming back here. So it fixed the namespace conflicts eventually, and now it's created the new script. So we have our rate button controller, our star button controller created new. It added the rate button controller. Now it's trying to add the star button controller. So let me run all of these. Cool. Adds the star button controller to the star buttons, I believe. You can check that quick. So let's see here. Rate button, the star controller. Yep. But it should hopefully remember to add those references. Let's see. Okay, it's going to add another script for the star referencing. I'll pause here while it does that. Here's a pretty good example that just happened. So it wants to create this larger sort of star manager script, and the button controller created earlier didn't have a public bounce animation function. So now it went in and replaced that to make it public, and now it added the system. Let me just stop the auto approve to stop the screenshots. But it added this to the stars container. Cool. You can see the Ratus UI. Let me cancel this, and I know that it hasn't added I can see it hasn't added these references yet. So let me say, before we do that, go through all of the relevant game objects and add the newly needed references. Let's run that. So what that does is if I type a message and send it back to the AI, it actually cancels the previous task and gives it feedback like, hey, we rather want to do this instead. So that's getting some more context. Just auto approve view here. Let me pause again and I'll get back to you. Okay, so let me see here. So I told it to, somewhere up here, I told it that we want to, basically look up, check the references, but after doing some checks, it actually found that a lot of these references are set in the start menu. So it's telling us, cool, we can actually just go ahead and do this. So if we play the game, let's see if this works. So we play here, so you can see, okay, the buttons do highlight when we hover over them, or you can see a slight color change. And then let's try and click on some of this. So 3 stars, okay, cool. You can see a little effect. You can see the star bouncing. You see the colors changing slightly from those you don't. You can see this message, so that's functional. And if we click this, you see a little pop-up. Okay, so that's some dummy logic and how to create UI in Unity from an image. I hope this helps people, and please come check out Coplay and give us some more feedback. Thank you for watching.